Listen, are you looking for practical, sustainable, and proven ways to build wealth so you and your family can live the lifestyles you were created to live? Of the one that's filled with freedom and lifestyle options. Are you tired of trying to figure it out all by yourself? And does nobody in your family understand your drive? Then it sounds like you need a new tribe. Well, you're in luck because we just created one here at the Share the Wealth Show called the Wealth Exchange Network, where you can come in, engage, get support, and ask questions with people who have practical knowledge and experience to help you level up and get to that next stage in your journey. So hop on in, click the link in the show notes to join today. Come on and take advantage of this opportunity, and I'm going to see you on the inside.
The biggest hurdle is fear, and just you got to overcome it. You've got to jump, and once you jump, then you build the momentum as you go. It's kind of like you fail forward. But our very first raise was $600,000, and we were terrified to raise $600,000. Now, our most recent raise was $16.5 million. So we've come a long way, but the way to take those journeys are just taking one step at a time.
Welcome to the Share the Wealth Show, where minority professionals can learn to escape the racial wealth gap and catapult themselves into abundance. Your host, Nicole Pendergrass, grew her net worth from being negative to multiple six figures. Join her on her investigative mission to expose secret strategies of the wealthy so we can all have the tools needed to build the life and legacy we were created to possess. Now it's time for the show.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Share the Wealth Show. This is the show where we discuss strategies on how to build, grow, and protect minority wealth. And today I'm super excited to have with me Candice and Corey Muldrow. And from what I've seen, just super high level, we were having a discussion. I was having a discussion with both of them on Facebook Messenger, not realizing that I was talking to a husband and wife team here. And I was just super impressed because they have like multiple hundreds of units under management, and they have their own vertically integrated property management company. And when I was looking at your site and the about you guys have really done a lot and accomplished a lot in the few years that you've been, transitioned full-time into real estate. And I don't want to ramble and take away. You could tell your background a little bit better than me. So can you introduce yourselves and let everybody know kind of like what you guys are into now, what you're doing right now?
Sure. Well, I'll jump in first. My name's Corey, and this is my wife, Candice, and we're M Group Capital. We started back in 2015 with single family homes. Actually, that's a little bit more of a unique story, and I kind of want Candice to tell that portion. So, Candice, you want to jump in and take over how we actually got started?
Yeah. So as Corey mentioned, we started in single family, and we both knew that we wanted to be real estate investors. So I come from a family of real estate investors, third generation real estate investor right here. And Corey knew that he read Rich Dad Poor Dad, so he knew that he was interested in investing in real estate. He also comes from a family of entrepreneurs. So anyway, so when we met, that was just in our background. But then when we, decided to get married, we bought our first single family while we were planning our wedding. So, we bought the investment property, found it, started renovating it, and I'm over here planning a wedding. And Corey is just like insistent on us getting this property renovated, getting a person a resident to live in the home, and all this before we leave for our wedding. So I was a little resistant of doing it at that time, but I'm so glad that Corey stuck to his goal of having that done before we went off to get married, and that's what started our real estate journey.
So wait a minute. So you went off to get married. So you didn't get married here in the States. Was it a destination wedding?
Yes, we got married in Cabo San Lucas. It was absolutely gorgeous. If anybody's thinking of having a destination wedding, I highly recommend it.
You guys
It
are
was a
loud.
wonderful experience for us. But yeah, I'm planning all of that. This is going to be my only wedding. So I'm so into it. And Corey was, really like, yeah, that's great that you're planning a wedding, but he's forward thinking about our future and, goals. So I'm so glad that, he had the vision and stuck to, that goal that he wanted to have before we got married. And we joined an investment group, a mentorship and education group with fellow real estate investors, and that just had us take off like a rocket. We wouldn't be in the position that we are today as fast as we've been able to go without that group.
Yeah, I honestly, any kind of mentorship group, that's very crucial, right? Like I think it's critical with helping you with your growth and strategy, and just the network is very important, right? But I'm just super impressed with the mindset. Like, I know timing did not seem right to get married and be looking at a single family. Most people who are getting married are looking for a single family house, like their dream home that they want to move into. And you guys are renovating and getting a tenant. Like, I mean, I know
So
timing. Oh, go ahead.
let me add something to that. So we
Yeah.
actually bought our first rental home before we actually bought our own actual home. So we were still living in apartments at the time, and we had never owned any real estate, but we went and bought a rental property first.
Nice. And you know what? Timing, at the end of the day, timing is never right. Like, there, you always have a reason, a life reason or something that's happening that is going to make you say, oh, maybe I should wait. This isn't the right timing. When I got started with my first like rental property, or actually not with the first rental property, but with like joining a group and deciding to scale. I joined my mentorship group when I was like 8.5 months pregnant with my first kid. So, I'm like at the first conference that I had flown from on my maternity leave, pumping and all other crap that goes along with that. So I definitely was not the right timing. So I get that. Um, I guess nowadays you guys are super, super busy, right? With running your asset management and property management, mainly because you run a property management company as well as general partnership on, all your own units, right? But if you had an extra hour in the day, what would you spend it doing?
Ooh, so I'll take this first and I'll let Candice go next. I think you should spend an hour figuring out how to grow your business. Like, not working in your business, but working on your business. And for instance, for me right now, I'm spending, multiple hours a day focusing on learning AI and what that can bring to the table, for our business and future businesses. And I just feel like, if you're not spending time on R&D, like, the big major companies, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with Corey. Personal development was one of my big goals this year, to really focus in on that. With having back-to-back babies and managing family and business, it's been you have to prioritize. And for me, I definitely wanted to prioritize more investing in myself in development, and which in turn will affect all the people that we have influence over, being our investors that trust their capital with us, and our employees, to our circle of friends. So if I can develop myself more and improve, then that affects everyone, that ripples to everyone around me. So yeah, that's what I would do, is spend more time reading, more time, attending conferences, and I love marketing. So, and I'm interested in developing marketing within our company, and just making sure that we're innovators and just forward thinking. So there's a list of marketing things on my to-do list of things that I want to do for our company, just to make sure that we're communicating well and telling our story.
Looking to build wealth with real estate? Are you all tapped out on YouTube University and ready to get help tailored to your specific situation and goals? Have you always known that you were a little different from the crowd, that you never liked following the status quo, and that you're just tired of living in mediocrity? You want to build wealth on your own terms outside of Wall Street? Well, then maybe the Microfamily Mavericks mentorship program can help with that. It's a community where I handhold you through the process of buying your first small commercial multifamily building, because not everyone is ready for 100 units out the gate. Why multifamily? Because it gives your rental income a hedge against vacancy. Imagine what happens when your single family rental tenant leaves, right? And why commercial 5+ units? Because you have much more control over increasing the building's value in the commercial space, and then in turn, increasing your own net worth. Starting small is a stepping stone to so much more, because then you can tap that equity and buy another building and another and another, and you get the point. So increasing your cash flow and your ability to be job optional along the way. It's all a part of the journey. So if you think big, but you want to start small, and if you know multifamily real estate is a way for you to open the door to building a life of freedom, abundance, and legacy, but you just need someone to guide you step by step, and you want to be surrounded by other people on the same journey, doing the same thing, then just click the link in the show notes to find out a little bit more about the Microfamily Mavericks, and I look forward to potentially seeing you on the inside. So now back to the show. Yeah. And I know marketing must have been very helpful, especially in the beginning when you guys were scaling. So if you started with single family, what did that journey look like? How many single families did you have before you decided that, okay, we need to scale into multifamily, and what was the impetus for that?
So what we did was we invested in, we actually did 3 single family homes. And within this mastermind group we were a part of, we had the opportunity to learn about multifamily. And what we did was we were investing in single family, and then we took some small change and invested in some, when I say small, we invested as limited partners in some bigger investments. And we did a number of those. And then we were like, hey, we should do this ourselves and take on the lead sponsor, general partner role. And that's what we did.
Okay. And I GP on a couple deals, and it's nowhere near what you guys are doing. And I know that mindset is that thought process, so let's just take this on, is much easier said than done. There's a lot that ends up coming into that umbrella of becoming a lead sponsor and a GP. What did that look like for you? What was your first deal like as a general partner, and how hard was it for you to find a deal that made sense? How hard was it for you to raise capital? Like, was it anything much more difficult and involved than you had anticipated? How did that unfold for your first one?
Well, I think for the very first one, it was the biggest challenge we had was our own fear. Our first deal, we were working with some advisory brokers to kind of help locate deals for us. We're still learning how to underwrite multifamily because it's different from single family. You've got different variables in there. So we worked with someone who could kind of handhold us a little bit to kind of make sure we don't make big mistakes. But the biggest hurdle is fear, and just you got to overcome it. You've got to jump, and once you jump, then you build the momentum as you go. It's kind of like you fail forward. But our very first raise was $600,000, and we were terrified to raise $600,000. Now, our most recent raise was $16.5 million. So we've come a long way. But the way to take those journeys are just taking one step at a time.
Yeah, Candice, do you have any other kind of bigger hurdles because I know you guys work together, but you might view things differently. You probably, actually, I know you do. Even as married couples, I'm thinking about like me and my husband, we view things differently, right? So what was your kind of biggest fear or issue with the first project that you guys were going to be lead sponsors on to kind of help you overcome and push through? What did you feel like was your biggest hurdle?
I guess one of the biggest thoughts when we first were starting out was, are people going to actually pay the rent? Like, are all these people, these 18 units that we have, are they actually going to pay on time? And, that's in the lease, that's the structure of the lease. But that was just in my thought, like, are they really going to, pay their rent? And are we going to have enough money to cover all of our bills and do everything that we need to do? But you make sure of that by, screening your residents, making sure they meet your rental criteria and all that. We did have third party management company on our first property. So that was good. It was a smaller management company because we were a smaller property. We wanted to find someone that would pay attention to us, a smaller company that, we weren't this, small fish in this big pond. It would be someone that we could talk to whenever we want to. So we established this good relationship with this management company, and it helped us through that process as being with this being our first deal sponsors. And we just developed from there. And like Corey was saying earlier, it's just, taking those steps. We were in a mentorship group, which we were able to bounce ideas off of other sponsors and, go to monthly events, get constant training. We had mentors that we could call if we had any questions. So that helped us. But it's just all the things that you think about what could go wrong in this scenario. You think of when it's your first deal and you're responsible to make this deal successful. But, it's just like with anything, you got to jump in, you got to get started. And there's a solution to every problem. So when you have a great network around you, when you have a mentorship group or some sort of network of other like-minded people, or that people are around people that are where you want to go, that'll give you more confidence and really put you in a good place to set yourself up for success.
Yeah. So the first deal, then, it makes sense that you had third-party property management. I was actually going to ask that. How many more deals did you continue to use third party, and what made you change to be vertically integrated with property management? Because that's like a big thing now. People can use third party, and sometimes it's a necessary, I don't want to say evil, but it's a necessary usage, expansion for you to be able to handle a property, especially if it's not near where you are, right? But being vertically integrated, I'm scared of vertical integration with property management, because I manage one property myself, but the others that are either farther away or more units, it's kind of like, you nitpick with your property management company, but at the same time, I can't take all those daily calls and you know what I mean? So I think I was going to point out your other, your viewpoint about picking a smaller property management company because you were smaller operators, so that you could actually be seen and heard and talk with someone. Because I think right now I am a small fish in a big pond when it comes to property management. And it's hard to pull strings or get things done the way you need to when you're a very small percentage of their overall portfolio. They have to stay systematized and they have to run things a certain way, which I completely understand from the business standpoint. But I guess the main question that I should ask is, one, how did you vet the experience of a smaller property management company if they are smaller and newer? Two, and then how, as a small operator, can you effectively operate within a bigger property management company if you were to go with, someone more established and bigger as far as the property management side of things? So I guess it's a two-pronged question because you guys have experience on both sides of it.
Sure. So I'll answer the part of it the part of your question around the smaller management company and why we decided to go that route, because we don't have any experience with the larger management companies, because we did decide to bring it in-house after our first property. But yeah, with selecting, they're your partner. So with any partnership, you want to make sure that you're aligned when it comes to how you do business, how you communicate. Number one, how fast are they to respond? How easily accessible are they? How do they care? How do they care about their residents? All the things that are important to you. You got to think of those things when it comes to running your property. And you sit down and you have the conversation and you interview these different management companies. The one that we selected was the most accessible to us. So they responded quickly. We could call them up at any time. So that's what was the deciding factor for us to go with the company we chose. But after our first property, when we sold our first 18 unit property, we bought 102 units, multifamily complex. And that at that time, we had third party for a little while, for about, a few months. And then I was at the point in my career where we decided that I would step away and I would start our property management company. So I retired from corporate America. We were bringing in enough income at that time to replace my income. And so that was an easy decision, because, we wanted to have more control. So, finding a third party management company, nothing is ever going to be perfect. And no one will care about your property as much as you do. So for us, we were in the position where we were able to do that and bring it on in-house. It is not for everybody. So, I would say proceed with caution. If you decide to manage your own properties, you got to make sure that you have someone. It is a full-time job, so you have to make sure you have someone that it will be dedicated to that full-time, and be able to grow it, basically. So that second property is the one that started us on property management, and it's been a learning curve for us, because we didn't have a set path, like this is what you do, this is like every step of the way, this is how you create a management company, this is how you set everything up. That wasn't there, that structure wasn't there. So we leaned on other operators that were vertically integrated that also had their own management companies. We leaned on our network of consultants that had property management of experience in our networking group. So we had to ask the right questions to make sure that we were getting what we needed to get our company going.
Oh my God. I just can't believe you guys went from an 18 unit to 102 and at the same time decided to start your own management company. Oh my gosh, you guys got a lot of gumption. Well, Corey, was you about to say something to in answer to the question? I'm in so much awe
No,
right now.
I was just gonna add a little bit more color to it. So when you're with the management company, you're gonna be, constantly communicating, sending emails, telling them, what things that need to get done. And, you're like, yeah. And then they make a little move. And then you're like, hey. And they make a little move. So once you do that, you go through that process a number of times, you figure, hey, you know what? Why don't I just cut out the middleman? And, with 102 units, you're going to have a manager and a maintenance guy. Why don't I just cut out that middle person and go directly and get it taken care of myself? And that was what made us make that decision to bring it in-house, because we had full-time staff on the property.
Okay. And if you guys, you now, how many units do you own and manage now?
We're just under 600 now. We sold off one of our bigger properties earlier this year.
Okay. And you don't manage for anybody else. You only manage your own units. Is that correct?
Correct.
Currently, yeah.
Okay, currently. So if, let's say, in the future, I don't even know if this is part of your plans, but if you were to open up your management to other operators and owners, first of all, I love the idea of being managed by a company that is also owners, because then it just makes, I don't know, I feel like you'll come to my property with the owner's mindset more. But in
We'll
any
be able
case,
to speak the same language,
exactly.
essentially. Yeah.
And have the same viewpoint when it comes to decision making. You're doing it from the owner side, but you also still need to do it from the resident side to make sure there's a happy balance there. But let's say if there was a small fish who wanted to come in and be managed by you guys, and you're considered, in my eyes, you're a big fish, right? How is the best way for them to communicate and just correspond with you, even if they're a smaller fish in your overall portfolio pond? Are you enjoying this episode? Then stop what you're doing right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really helps our show get pushed to more people who are looking for the information that we're sharing here. We have to share the wealth. If you listen to us on YouTube, make sure you like the episode that you're listening to right now and subscribe to our channel. Then share the channel with somebody else. There are people out there looking for the information you're listening to right now. So make sure you share it with someone who you know needs it. Now, back to the show.
Okay, that's a good question. So with that, what we would have to do is put ourselves back in a position when we had the 18 unit property. So basically, you want to communicate your problems, but you don't want to berate. Everything's got to be tactful. It's kind of like you get more bees with honey type of thing. So I'm just trying to think back to how we used to communicate with our third party manager. So we had to understand, it's like, hey, you know what, being smaller, we're not there. A management company isn't making that much money on a small property. So if you consume too much of that management company's time, they will drop you, and then you don't have any options. So it's a delicate balancing act, especially with smaller properties, because if you have a client, or if I was an owner and I was communicating with a management company and I'm calling them every day and getting in their business every day, but they have this 700 unit portfolio over here and they get one call a week from them. That's the business right there. It's like, so you just have to have that understanding coming in with a smaller property. That's the reason why you want to work with a smaller management company, so that they're not making those decisions.
And then sometimes the management companies that maybe specialize in single family might be a better pick for someone that has 18 units or a smaller property, because they're and of course they would have to be open to multi-unit property management, but that might be a better approach, especially if you've got a smaller portfolio than trying to go to some of these bigger management companies for multifamily. That's how I would start off, and make sure you have those have those phone calls, have a series of them, get to know, hopefully you can meet them in person. So that way, you establish that rapport and you're able to make the decisions based upon the things that are important to you, and make sure that you are aligned and your mindset on how to care for your asset and take care of your residents.
Okay. And I heard you before say your primary way that you picked the smaller property management company to work with when you had your smaller unit was because they were accessible for you. Is there anything else that should be like top of mind or like really high level, like this is other priority besides, of course, accessibility is super important. So that I think is super high. But like, is there any other thing that's really high in like the property management company in order to vet? Like if someone out there, has a small portfolio and they're looking to get third party property management, like how should they pick who's
I
the
would
best
look at
option for them?
I would look at their track record. We're in a world where referrals, reviews, that's everything. So I would want to speak to their, I would want to get testimonials from their clients, and I would want to talk to them personally to understand how they work together. As the owner, the operator, and the property management company. I want to understand what are some things that they like about, their relationship. What are some challenges that they have to bring more color into how you should approach the relationship.
And I would add to that, ask for a list of properties they manage and go drive.
Yes, that's great.
You can tell how a property's been running by just the curb appeal.
Mm-hmm. It'll tell you everything about the operations, just driving a property, how well it's operated.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, to drive the properties that they manage. I didn't even think about that. You guys are all taking notes. They're dropping gems right now on how to select the best property management company. Okay. You guys both came from entrepreneurial or real estate kind of families. A lot of children don't necessarily follow their family's business because they're kind of like tired of it. It's been shoved down their throat growing up, and they just want to do their own thing. What made each of you in your own paths decide to go in the route that your family had went, or that they started out in?
Well, my family never really pushed that on me. They always, said, it's a great thing, to be an entrepreneur if that's for you, and, have control of your life in that way. And, I saw my grandparents, have properties. I saw my dad, but I also saw the headaches of it too. So that made me think about what kind of approach I wanted to take with, having income properties, because I could hear my dad overhear him on the, calls with, tenants that had issues, and, having to go to a property because something happened. It was a storm and there was a tree that fell on the roof, or whatever that you're responsible for as an owner to take care of the asset in the property. So, but with all that said, even though it wasn't pushed on me, it was around me. And I admired it. I saw that my dad had freedom with his time. He made his own schedule. I saw what it did for the lives of my grandparents. Even though they were very frugal, they invested very well, and were always able to help somebody. They would take us on family vacations and pay for our whole family. And they were always helpful in the community and for other family members. They were always giving. So, and they were in the position to give. So that's something that really made me think, okay, this is something that I admire. This is something that I want in my life as well.
Cool. Corey?
I would say what motivated me was, seeing my great uncle. He had businesses during the 70s, and during some difficult times, and just watching what he was able to do and what he was able to build was really awesome to me. And then my dad, watching him in business, also motivated me as well. So it was always kind of here for me. But, real estate was something that was, you're not going to get rich quick, but you're going to get wealthy for sure. So, and that's where we wanted to put our time and energy, in something that was for sure, if you just follow the map and do it right.
Okay. I love that. Because I'm trying to think about the experiences from you guys that I both know on the operator side and on the property management side. I know it's probably hard to pick, and you're probably going to say both, but I'm going to ask anyway. If you had to just pick one side, would you stay on the operator side, or do you like property management? And what do you see like the benefits of either side of the coin?
I would think you definitely want to be involved in both if you can stomach it. I think it's very important to know how to run your business. And no one's going to run your business like you will or take care of your asset like you will. So I think it is important to have that experience. Going forward, maybe after doing one or two properties, maybe not, maybe, just sticking with the asset role, because property management does consume a lot of your time, and you have to really have a desire for it, like a heart for solving problems, because it can become a time suck. But, in our case, we've been able to navigate some extremely tough waters here lately in commercial real estate. I don't know if everyone's been kind of watching the news, but it hasn't been sunshine and roses. So, and if we weren't managing our own properties, then, we would be struggling big time like most other operators are. But we've been able to, overcome some massive challenges and steady our portfolio to make it to the other side.
Okay. I guess the follow-up to that, because I was going to go that route anyway, is the current economy with multifamily. So of course, I'm following it, and I'm experiencing some of those downturn trends. Some things you can float with some properties, and some are just like unsalvageable, unfortunately. And kind of how were your properties, I guess, purchased and kind of set up, besides you self-managing, like your debt service, and were you doing value add, how was your business plan set up for your current portfolio to make you be able to weather the storms? And have you had any difficulties with the current economy that you've had to kind of shift or revamp some things to keep everything floating along?
Okay, guys, don't kill me, but I'm going to have to cut this episode short. This is too juicy, and we need to do this in a part 2. So stay tuned for the next episode that airs, and you can hear the rest of our conversation.
Did you love this episode of Share the Wealth Show? Be sure to connect with Nicole by following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. If you picked up any of the gems that were dropped by today's guest, make sure you not only put them in your bag, but if you know of someone who would benefit from this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share the wealth, and make sure to leave us a rating and review. We'll see you for next week's episode. Subscribe so you'll be notified.